Chris Hensley is a registered representative of Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer member of FINRA SIPC, investment advisor representative of Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and Houston First Financial Group are not affiliated.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Money Matters. I'm Chris Hensley, and we've got a fantastic show lined up for you today. If you are a longtime listener, you're seeing 6 people instead of 2. And you know, we're doing something a little bit different today. Most of the time we do an interview format where it's kind of a one-on-one. Occasionally we've had 2 people on. Probably today we're going to do a little bit, mix it up and do a panel. But I'm super excited about the topic that we have today. And I was thinking about how to frame this. Usually there's 2 ways that I'll do it. I'll either tell a story or I'll pull a headline up so that it's timely, right? Well, I'm going to do both today because it's super timely, and also I have a story. The group today is there's a bunch of people on here, and it's all offshoot of a group called Generators, Portable Generators to power your entire home. And the way I found out about this group, I will take you back to February 2021 when Texas had the power grid failure during the ice storms. They resulted in 246 deaths here in Texas, some of those from hypothermia. This was a historic storm, and it wasn't just Texas. It affected Mexico and Canada. It was a huge thing. But how did this affect me personally? Well, pan to me sitting in the living room with a fireplace that's natural gas that I remember telling my wife, who needs a fireplace in Houston, right? All the power's out. We're in the living room cooking on it and keeping warm. Got some Shining vibes going on because we're stuck in there all together. And then I will fast forward past that until, how can we solve this? What are we going to do next time we have an emergency or a natural disaster like that? And then I found this group who Brian Milan, Brian, welcome to the show this morning, started. And this kind of sent me on this path to, I'm frugal. I looked at the Generac stuff and like doing a whole home generator. I looked at doing the solar panels. And the cost for that was very, very expensive. And so I found this group on Facebook who had already been set up and had already gone down this path that shows you how to kind of keep the power on when we have these natural disasters or emergencies, or even when the wind blows and knocks a transformer out, for on a budget. And it's also got some DIY aspects, which I'm a big do-it-yourselfer. So all of this really appealed to me. And then fast forward to today when I was looking for headlines. It turns out that July 3rd, Monday, was the hottest day on Earth recorded. In Texas, no. In the U.S., no. On Earth, the hottest day on Earth. And then we've got a summer of El Nino, and Houston's been getting it really bad. People are having air conditioning problems across the place. So that's the theme, and that's to get started. Guys, thank you so much for joining the show this morning. Let's kind of dive right into it. Let's start with Brian, because I'd like to ask you, this group, which I've seen it grow since I started on it, back in 2021. How did this interest in portable generators begin with, and what inspired you to start this group?
Well, so I first started my personal generator hookup is I was watching the models for Hurricane Laura, and a few of the models were shifting towards Houston area. And so at the time we had an 8-month-old son. So I'm laying out extension cords in the house, putting one for the refrigerator, one for the TV, one for a fan, one for the portable AC. And he was all into the cords. And it was like, okay, this is not going to work anymore. I have a family now. I cannot just run extension cords. And so that's when I called my electrician up. Within 2 days, I was able to get hooked up. And but I never really had a need to use it as Laura hit Lake Charles. But during our Texas freeze, I hooked it up, plugged it in, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I was able to fully heat my home. Everything functioned as normal. The kids were even watching a movie on the theater. and it really worked out great. So in my neighborhood, one of our Facebook pages, people were saying, "Oh, this man, it's so cold. My house is like 42 degrees inside." I was like, "Come on over, stop on over. I'll show you my setup, how economical it is. You're welcome to see how it. I know it's very cold outside, but I can show you how it works." And then an hour or two later, maybe a dozen people showed up. Later on that evening, another 20 people showed up, and I was like, "Wow, this," because it was very difficult to explain online, through comments how the system works. But once they saw it in action, it's like, okay, this is it. This is what I'm doing. Because it was, you can do these portable setups for a very economical price for a fraction of the cost of a standby unit. I'm able to heat my home and power 2 ACs with it as well. I do have some limitations, but I don't want to run my coffee pot and microwave and dryer and ACs all at the very same time. I can get by with a week or so out of a power outage like this.
I
And so
love
then
it. I
after
love
that,
it.
we had so many people stopping by that we decided, well, let's go ahead and form this generator group. So at first, it was mainly my neighborhood. So we had like 300 to 400 join in. Then the Houston Chronicle found out about this. So they did an article. And since then, it's been growing nationwide. We're in all 50 states and 13 countries now.
Wow, that's huge. That's huge. And what's really neat about the group is that the kind of the crowdsourcing of questions. Like you've got people that are all different setups as far as their air condition and what their electrical systems look like. And so this group has been really great. Of if you throw a question in there, either somebody's already gone down that path or they can point you in the right direction. And so that's what's really neat about it. Brian, what are some of the most common questions or concerns group members have about portable generators and the whole idea of running the house off of the portable generator?
Yeah, the number one question I get is it safe? I may get 20, 30 messages a day, and that's the most common prevailing question. Is it safe? Am I going to blow myself up? Am I going to blow my house up? And it's absolutely safe. There's a lot of different backup mechanisms in place as well. But it's very simple to use. My daughter is 8 and she powers our home. How
Oh,
simple
I
it is. I
love
feel
it.
with her doing it. And then the other question is, can I power my central AC on these portable generators? Because there's a lot of misconception out there, I believe. I'm not sure if it's electricians or the standby folks saying cannot power central ACs, and I haven't come across one that I haven't been able to start yet.
There's probably both of those things you just mentioned are putting that out there that maybe you can or maybe you can't. But I think we've all like in this group seen that, hey, you can power your home with I've got the Duromax, I've got the micro air, and it works. It's amazing to see it done. Now it's anything that's do it yourself. We have to, since you're doing this from the love of your heart, right? It's a passion. You're not getting paid for this. We do have to mention that
Exactly.
anything that's do it yourself. It's kind of like if you get a car and you're an enthusiast and you go out and put like aftermarket parts on it, then there may be issues as far as warranties and that kind of stuff, right? But that's the do it yourself when you do like custom parts or so that's some of the questions that have rolled around on that. Just so that we know that. Let's go to well, let's see. I'm trying to see the logical order here. Let's start with Duramax because that is the generator, right? So let's kind of start with that. First, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Absolutely. Well, good morning, gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me on the show today. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Michael Black. I'm the sales director for Duromax. I've been with the company now for about 6 years. I oversee and I manage all of our partnerships with our retail partners out there, massive companies like Amazon, Home Depot, Lowe's, Tractor Supply, and many, many others. I'm also very involved with our marketing, our advertising efforts, and I work closely with our product development and engineering teams as well. I've had the honor of knowing Mr. Milan and a lot of the gentlemen in this room now for a couple of years through the Facebook group. And I'm a member of the group. And between our company and the community out there, we're learning a lot from each other and spreading a lot of good information out there as far as what these products and what these portable generators can really do.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Michael. Thank you so much for being on the show today, and really educating listeners about this. Can you share some tips for customers on how to choose the right generator for their needs, especially those that might be buying a generator for the first time?
Absolutely. So the most important things to consider when purchasing a portable generator for the first time is what are the most important items in your home to you that you want to keep powered during an outage, and how much power or wattage will those products or will those items require to keep powered? Things like Brian mentioned, your central ACs, your lights, appliances like refrigerators and freezers to keep food from going bad. From there, you can determine what type of plugs and outlets and features you're going to need on the generator. And then from a power output perspective, how big of a portable generator you're going to need. The next most important thing to consider based on where you live and what fuel source you plan on using. Gasoline is the most tried and true option. It's kind of where portable generators started. Duramax is the industry leader in dual fuel technology, which brings propane as another fuel source. There's a lot of advantages to propane. It's cleaner for the internals of the generator. It won't gum up things like the carburetor, like gasoline will. And then so once you know what kind of fuel source you plan on using, you can make the decisions about, do you need a gasoline only, a dual fuel option, which we would always recommend having multiple fuel options in case that primary fuel option isn't available during an emergency or an outage. And then finally, we actually have come out with and pioneered tri-fuel technology, which adds a third fuel source, being natural gas, which if your home has natural gas hooked up to it, that's the most ideal fuel source, as if you have that, you essentially have a limitless supply of fuel using natural gas. And then finally, to kind of round out making the selection on what generator to go with, you want to look at the quality aspects of the generator and the brand you go with. Things like the internal components, how the product is engineered and built, and then some post-purchase options, things like customer support, warranty, service centers, things like that.
Awesome. So again, as a financial advisor, if I talk about a stock, I don't make blanket recommendations across the board, right? So the same thing with the generators. Duramax is just one of the choices of many that people will use. With that being said, that's the one I have. And there were a couple of reasons that I picked it that I really liked. The price in 2021 when I got it, it's gone up. Inflation's gone up. Everything is more expensive now, but the idea that you could use that generator with different sources, like the redundancy, like I could use the gasoline. I haven't made the leap for the natural gas, although we have it right next to the natural gas. So Gino, I might ask you about that here in a minute, because I know that's kind of like the next step for me. But I was like, okay, we got it, and it can run off of gas. Let's just be happy with that for now, and then we can add that back in. But the idea that if there's a storm or if there's maybe floods and you're not able to get out and get extra gas and you have a natural gas line there, that's something, right? That's a good choice for you. Tell us a little bit about Duramax's. So how does it support their customers after the purchase?
Well, so kind of like I mentioned, at Duramax, we really pride ourselves on our industry-leading warranty, which is 5 years on most of our, on all of our generators, and most of our other outdoor power equipment items. Our technical support teams, as I mentioned, they're all U.S. based. When our customers call and they need support, they're going to get a hold of someone right here in the United States to take care of them. We have over 500 service centers, as I mentioned, around the country to help troubleshoot or repair any issues that might happen with the unit. If you need replacement parts installed or things like that. If there's not a local service center, which is pretty rare, that's within a reasonable mileage from a customer, our support teams are expert. They're pros at getting small engine shops, lawnmower shops as part of our program that can expedite and help take care of our customers in the field. And then if for some reason that's not working for the customer's timeline, we will have the item shipped back to us free of charge, either for repair or replacement at one of either our West Coast or our East Coast headquarters. And then, really, we understand that the generator and the other gentlemen here, they all play a role in the overall, in achieving or help bring the ultimate goal of affordable, reliable, portable home power backup to customers. So we understand that once you've made the selection of the generator and how you're going to hook it up to your home, you've really just begun the process. So we are the first manufacturer, we just launched it this year, to have a white glove service, an installation support service. So once you purchase from Duramax and you register your product, our support teams, if you opt in, if you'd like to, we will help our customers get set up with the electricians and the professional installers as part of our network in their hometowns, and make sure that their whole systems are set up safely and that they're not being taken advantage of from a price standpoint. If you look at the cost compared to a standby, for example, one of our large portable generators in the 13,000 plus range or 10,000 watt range, those go for around, let's say, $1,000 to $2,000. From the installation and everything all in, you're looking at probably below $5,000 to get the entire system set up. Where if you were to go with a standby system, you're looking at $6,000 to $10,000 just for the unit, and then double that for the installation, which is something that's not very clear in the marketing and advertising out there by some of those major manufacturers as well. So there's a big sticker shock when people get the full all-in cost of a standby.
Michael, thank you for sharing that. And to say it's not clear, we're being nice about that, because a lot of these whole home ones, they'll come out, it'll be a sales rep, and they're like, okay, you're looking north 10, 20, 30,000 sometimes, depending on how big the house is. And so that's one of the really, Brian's group that he started, that's one of the really big aspects of it. You also mentioned earlier about when you get the generator, it's not necessarily about powering the whole house. If you're in a temporary situation and you've gone in and you've looked at the circuit breaker and you've said, okay, this is my refrigerator. If my refrigerator overheats, I'm having to buy groceries again, right? So you dial that one on, and maybe I'll need the internet because I got to keep my kid busy, right, during it. And so you can kind of pick and choose what you're putting in that choice, right? And so this seems to be a perfect fit for that. Barring, a major situation where we're without power for like a month or so, but people will be running down the street with their hair on fire, right? So we'll all be in a different boat then. Gino, I'm gonna bring you in, because one of the things that we were just talking about was that the ability to add natural gas, not just the regular gasoline, but also natural gas. So one, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company kind of to get started here?
Yes, sir. So my name is Gino Boutros. I work for Tony's Plumbing. It's actually my father's company. We started back in 2014 in the Cypress area, and we've been growing quite a bit in the area, actually, mainly due to the portable generator group. So Brian had thought of this idea of, hey, you know what? These generators can start operating off of natural gas. Let's see if we can do a connection at the meter. And he had reached out to me and said, I think we should be able to kind of do a connection right there at the meter. And I said, of course we can. I mean, that's what they do for standalone generators. That's what they do for pool heaters. I don't see a reason why we can't do it for that. And we started thinking of ideas of, okay, what can we connect it, since it is portable? That makes it easier for you to be able to move the generator with you. And obviously that's where the quick connect comes in. And one of the questions that I get asked the most is it safe for the quick connect? And of course, so it actually has a safety mechanism that once you remove the hose out of it, it won't let any of the natural gas on, even if somebody does come and play with the valve at all. So whenever Brian, started looking at the natural gas and everything like that, I mean, it came out as a perfect package completely. It's easy, obviously, to move in and out of your garage, bring it out. You kind of like what you said, you can control what you want to control. It's a third of the cost of a standalone generator. And the cool thing about it is too, and I told my wife, I said, we move to the next house, guess what? We bring that with us. You can't do that with the standalones.
Nice. That's a bunch of really good points there. Um, Tell me a little bit about, are there any specific considerations or precautions that homeowners should keep in mind when using a generator, particularly when it comes to gas lines?
So usually you have to obviously consider where you're placing the generator. We don't want it near the windows for carbon monoxide and stuff like that. So you just have to figure out kind of where your placement for the generator is going to be. And then based off of that, we'll have to see, okay, do you want to run a hard line to the location of where you're placing it, or you're gonna run a longer hose and a quick connect, doing it that way. So the first thing to do is going to be, where will be the safest place to put it, and based off of that, we'll decide, okay, what are the next step going to be? How far will the gas line be? And based off of that as well, we'll have to choose the proper sizing, because we don't want to downsize on a gas line and then the generator starts struggling. We want to make sure that we size it properly. So that would be the first step that I would start, is make sure that, it's safe away from any windows and doors, and obviously your neighbor as well, you got to be considerate of them. So, and once you figure that location, then we can talk about how the best option is to run that gas line.
I love it. Gino, thank you for sharing that. I'm trying to think, I think Dustin before Matteo. So I'm trying to do a line here because of how we set it up as we go. So Dustin, so let me go ahead and bring you in. And you're with Lease Services. So I'd like to, if you could introduce yourself and kind of share a little bit about your company first, and then we'll kind of get into it here.
Thank you for having me on the podcast. And I'm Dustin Sheffield. I'm the owner, master electrician of Lease Services. I'm an electrical contractor. I do every manner of electrical work, but one of the things I kind of specialize in, thanks to Brian, is portable generators.
I love it. I love it. What I'm hearing here is community. What started as a Facebook group, I mean, the national people who are outside of the Houston area aren't necessarily getting all this, but I love this, that we've got guys locally here, and we're bringing you in, Matteo and Michael as well. but I love that. I love that sense of community there. Dustin, tell me about how your work of Lease Services intersects with portable generators. How does that work for you?
I guess it kind of started with the freeze. That's the first time that the method of doing that kind of came up, and it came up because I had a tiny generator and no way to power my house, no way to get my central heat going, no way to get power to my natural gas fireplace. So I took my little generator, I cut a extension cord, I backfed my electric panel and powered up my whole house with it. And I was like, well, you don't really need that much power to power your whole house. And running my central heat, I only had like a 3,000 watt generator, but that was more than enough. So I started going around and doing that for other people and telling them, don't touch your electric panel until I get back. This is highly dangerous. I did those and was trading for propane to fuel my own generator. And with all the time on my hands, I started thinking, I've seen these things in a commercial setting. I've done lots of generators and standby systems, but I've never seen anything in a house. And lo and behold, a little bit of research, you can buy interlock kits for residential panels. And I was like, oh, cool, there is a safe way to do this. And I probably got maybe a dozen or so installs into doing them myself. And then one of my customers said, hey, did you know about this portable generator group? It's called Portable Generators to Power Your Whole Home. And there's a guy named Brian, and he does show and tells every week, and people show up, and he shows them how to do it. And I was like, maybe I should go there. It's I kind of have some questions myself. Also, I'm a business person, and networking is good. But I ended up going there. I learned some things, got to see kind of the limits of what these generators can do, and answered a lot of questions, passed out a bunch of business cards, and the rest is history. I've done a couple hundred installs since then. The generator group is blown up, and it is like you were saying, it's a really good resource it's a good resource for good information. It's also a resource for some bad information, but Brian and me and some of the other electricians on there do a pretty good job moderating and keeping the misinformation down to a minimum. But that's pretty much it. That's how we combined, and the rest is history, I guess.
Well, thank you for doing that. As a layperson, I know electricity can be dangerous, right? And so having those questions kind of answered, and you guys chiming in, that you're doing a world of service there. Dustin, tell me a little bit about, if I'm a person who's just joining this group and I see this, the interlock that you mentioned, that's a very important piece of kind of getting that generator online from the electrician standpoint. Can you explain to me, like I'm a 5-year-old, no, maybe a 10-year-old, explain to me as a layperson what an interlock does and how that plays into this setup that we do?
Sure. Well, like you said, electricity is very dangerous. It's very scary. And when you're dealing with something like that, you don't want to have to remember anything. You don't want to have to be careful not to. It should just be idiot proof. You should just be able to only do it one way. And what I tell people, I say here, it's 4 steps. You start your generator, you plug in your cords, you turn off your main, you turn on your generator breaker. That interlock is there to prevent you doing something that can be dangerous. And if it doesn't work, it means you skipped one of those 4 steps. That's pretty much it. And there's a little instructions on the panel. Give me a call if you get confused. But I mean, there's not really much to mess up. And basically, you can do the procedure backwards, and it's still going to work.
I love it. I love it. And Mattia, I'm about to bring you online because we're gonna hit the edge of the show here. It's amazing how fast these shows go. So we can sit here and talk about this for the next 30 minutes. But so I'll bring you here in a moment. But Dustin, that is really helpful. And one of the things that you mentioned, when I think about the group, I mentioned that it's like do it yourself, right? But it doesn't have to be. There's different levels of comfort. Some people are okay working on this stuff themselves, and some people, definitely the electrical stuff, tap an expert, get somebody, don't get out there and shock yourself, right? But there's people that like this idea, they see this idea, and they'll get local people to come out and do the installation and that sort of stuff. So you can kind of like dial in, are you going to pour a slab and do the shed and all that stuff yourself, or are you just going to, cart it out? You can kind of dial in, what you want to do. And then Mattia, let's go ahead and if you can unmute yourself, introduce yourself to listeners and tell them a little bit about your company and what you do.
Great. Thank you, Christopher. And thanks for having me here on your podcast. Hello, everybody. My name is Matteo Giovanetti. I'm an electrical engineer over 35 years, and I'm here. I work as a consulting engineer now for Microware Corporation. I have been working with Microware for over 25 years, either as a OEM customer, a direct employee, and now a consulting engineer since I started my own company in 2019. My primary background is development of control systems, electronic control systems for machinery of any type. And it just so happens, being a South Florida resident, that I got involved in the marine industry quite heavily 25 years ago, and specifically the air conditioning market. So I worked for 10 years for Dometic Marine, manufacturing air conditioning for marine applications. So I have great familiarity with air conditioning in terms of its design, not only in the electronics, but also on the refrigeration side, since whether you like it or not, if you work in a factory where you're literally making hundreds of air conditioners per day, you learn about air conditioning, like I said, whether you like it or not. So that is primarily my background. Microware manufactures a lot of different electronic controls for the air conditioning and other markets, marine, RV, and home. And the product that that's gained incredible popularity and is oftentimes used on Brian's group is the Easy Start product. And about a year ago, I was asked by Microware to step into Brian's group and answer questions, and Brian kindly received us as a manufacturer, and I've been doing my best ever since to help his members navigate through the challenges of air conditioning, electrical, along with the help of Dustin and Brian themselves. So that's basically why I'm here.
Awesome. Well, Mattia, thank you for being here. And if you have an RV, you might have heard of Microware prior to this, because they've been doing this for years to help step down the air conditions on an RV if you're boondocking in different climates and stuff like that. But so Matteo, the Easy Start part is one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle, right? Because if you go out and you get your generator set up, if you're getting your refrigerator and your freezer not letting your food thaw, that's good if you got some lights on. if you get greedy and you want to do the air condition, there's really only a couple of ways to get that to get into this math problem, right? Of running everything on the house. So tell us a little bit about what the Easy Start product is and how does it work with the portable generators, and what benefits does it provide to people?
Sure. Well, not to preclude Michael's efforts to sell larger and bigger generators, a lot of times the customers are challenged with the fact that the portable generator that they have can run everything in the house except for the air conditioner. And also not to preclude other efforts to make that happen, like that Dustin and Brian talk all day, every day about to help everyone with. Many cases, the Duromax generator of sufficiently sized will start the air conditioner with no problem at all. Or you can try adding a hard start kit, which has resulted in some people meeting with success. But if all else fails, enter Easy Start. Easy Start is a soft start. And what Easy Start does very uniquely and very effectively is it takes that initial current spike that the air conditioner draws when it starts up, the compressors specifically, and dramatically reduces it by upwards to 75%, which is huge. So now a generator and an air conditioner that previously would not start and run on a given generator system will now start up and work for you. So that is what Easy Start's primary benefit is. It's going to allow you to start and run your air conditioner when you otherwise couldn't have, by eliminating that startup spike. So along with that, there are many other side benefits other than the obvious. The Easy Start gets wired into the compressor wiring. It's very easy to do. It's only 4 wires, and many of Brian's members on his forum group or on the Facebook group there have done it themselves. And if not, they get help from Dustin or someone like that. And once you wire it in, it eliminates the starting surge on every start, whether or not you're on generator or you're on utility power. And once the air conditioner is up and running, the Easy Start continues to monitor and protect the compressor from all kinds of power anomalies. Those of you I know most of you are in the Cypress, Texas area. And by the way, my sister lives there as well with her husband, my 2 nephews. And the power is off. The grid in that area obviously can be problematic, especially in the summer when it's overloaded right now and during freezes and what have you. So power interruptions and brief brownouts are murder on air conditioning compressors. So one of the key benefits of an Easy Start is it will step in and disconnect the compressor if it detects brief power outages like this, to prevent the compressor from trying to immediately restart after power comes back, which is when problems can occur. And Easy Start also has other benefits too, as far as checking for low voltage conditions or overcurrent conditions, things of that sort, all of which are potentially harmful to the compressor. So Easy Start has these secondary benefits that people can benefit from as well, thus saving you more money, right? This is the Money Matters podcast, and I know that's important to your listeners, Christopher. And lastly, believe it or not, and we didn't really even know this at Microware at first, people have said, hey, when I put Easy Start on, that loud banging noise that the compressor makes when it starts up is gone. So the act of soft starting a compressor, which is a slow ramp up of the compressor's motor, as opposed to an immediate steep acceleration, is much quieter, so audibly quieter. So there are all kinds of benefits and reduction in wear and tear that Easy Start has for your air conditioning compressor.
I love it. I'm sure my neighbors appreciate the quiet aspect of it. That's always a good thing. And I put some sound suppression in the generator thing, so we're good on that. Sounds less like a motorcycle, a little bit lower than that. Well, we're right here at the end of the show. That was probably, we could go on and keep the conversation going, but we're right here towards the end. I'd like to bring Brian back on and just ask you, is there anything that I forgot to ask you that you'd like to share with the listeners as well? I knew that there's a show coming out. Is it Friday? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, this is probably more for Michael Black to answer, but They asked me if there's any homes in my neighborhood that will be willing to, as kind of as a showcase for the show, Designing Spaces, which will air on Friday at 6:30 a.m. Central Time, and it will re-air on July 13th at 6:30 a.m. And then and that's really going to showcase the Duramax 13,000 watt tri-fuel powering a very large home, 4,500 square foot home. Um, and I think that's really going to bring the national spotlight on portable generators powering an entire home.
Wow. That's neat that it's going from this one small group all across the country now, and it's a kind of a testament to these climate crises that we're having and the heat and all of that. It's a real thing going on right now, guys. Thank you so much for being on the show. Have a good rest of the day there.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Christopher.
much for
Thank
having
you
us.
so much.